The last feature in Excel I want to cover is creating a chart based off your data. This specific spreadsheet isn't designed really well for charting. It's going to be a little more difficult to chart because of the information and where it's located at, but we're going to give it a shot. Just looking at the data, probably what we want to chart, and there's lots of different charts we could use with the data we have, but one chart that would be useful to look at is each stock, its initial cost, what we paid for it if we would have purchased these stocks at the start of July, and then their current value at the end of July, so that visually we can see the difference from one stock to the next, and what we would have initially paid for it and what they were worth at the end of July. In order to do this, we need to select our data. So I'm going to start by clicking in cell A4 and dragging down to A9, just doing a quick selection. Now the data that I need to select next is over here in the initial cost column, and it's not adjacent to my data, so in order to get there, normally you'd have to select all this, but we do not want to chart initial price, the shares, the date, and the symbol. We just want the stock and then the initial cost and the current value, and we need to get them all selected at the same time in order to chart that. To do it, there's a shortcut key on your keyboard that works in order to do this. You're going to start by selecting stock down to IBM and let go of your mouse so it's selected, and I can now move, because I've let go of my mouse, over to initial cost. Holding down the Open Apple button on your keyboard now allows you to select the next range. So right now I'm holding down Open Apple on my keyboard. I'm going to now click and select initial cost down to the bottom, let go of my mouse. Open Apple I still have pressed down, but I can move now where I want to select, and I want to select current value next. Open Apple still pressed down, current value down. And now I can release the mouse and let go of Open Apple. I've now been able to select the non-adjacent range of cells: stocks, initial cost, current value. It's also useful for the computer, or for Excel I should say, if you select your titles, because then when you create your chart, it will add those titles into your chart. If you do not select your titles, it's just random data thrown in without titles. So it's useful to select your column headings as well. I can go to Insert Chart on the menu, or I can click Chart right here. It's going to open the same section in Excel, so I'm going to click Chart. Based on the data, if I click All Charts, there's 10 pages or 10 different windows here to view the different types of charts. Looking at our data, a bar chart would be really useful. Also a column chart would show the data very well. Line chart may be okay, but I think a column or a bar would be best. But I'm going to select column. You have 3 different windows to view of different column charts. I'm just going to stick with the simple one. I'll go with the very first one, a clustered column chart, and select that. The clustered column chart will automatically appear on your window. One thing you'll notice with my recording software, my mouse pointer gets a little weird on this chart, and I'm not sure why. So if you're following along on a Mac computer, your mouse pointer may look a little different on the chart compared to what you're going to see on this video. It's just the way that my software is recording this movie. But one thing that's useful, or nice I should say, with the chart is the ability to see it really well and not add it, or add it to a different page besides your data page, just because it's easier to size it and you can see it much easier. In order to do that, to move this chart to a new location, I'm going to go and make sure chart is selected. It's got to be selected. So if you click off your chart, you'll notice on your menu there's no chart option. But if I select my chart, that means click anywhere in a blank space. Don't select a part of a chart, but usually above your legend or below your legend is a good blank area to select your chart. I'll select my chart. It's selected. I can move it around my screen by grabbing a blank area. I can also size it using the handles if I want to size it. So I can move this around and play with it a little bit. But I want to change its location completely. So make sure your chart's selected. You'll now see you have a chart option on your menu. I'm going to select that. And I want to go down to Move Chart because I want to change its location. I select Move Chart. It gives me my Move Chart window. And it says choose where you want your chart to be placed. Right now the option selected is an object in sheet 1. If you look down here, we have just one sheet, sheet 1, and it's inside sheet 1. I want to put it on a new sheet. And I can name the sheet right here if I want to. And I think a good name would be Technologies. Let's go Stock Portfolio Chart. So I'm going to just change it Stock Portfolio Chart, or Technology Stock Portfolio Chart, but I'll just leave it as this. And it's going to go on a new sheet. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And I'm going to close my chart window. And you'll now notice there's my chart. I can compare Apple Computer. The blue lines are the initial cost, how much you initially paid. The red line is what it was worth at the end of July. And again, we can see Dell went up, or Apple went down, but then again its stock price is very high to start with. Dell went up slightly, Hewlett Packard went up, Sony dropped, and again IBM went up. So there's our chart on a new sheet. Now don't get nervous, your data is not gone. Remember, your data is just on sheet 1. So I can click sheet 1 to get back to my data, but I can click the chart to view my chart. Now if I double click sheet 1, that allows me to name it. So I'm just going to name it Stock Portfolio Data. And I can also arrange the tabs. If I click and hold, I can move them. If I want my data first, I can do that. My data is the first page. The portfolio chart is on the second tab, if you want to say that. It's just like having separate pages in a notebook. I believe you can create 255 pages under one file name or something like that. A lot of different pages you can create. But that's my data on a separate tab, and I can flip to my chart on another tab. And then printing, your chart should be set up to print just the way it is on one sheet. You have to print this page or this sheet and then this sheet. And let's just take a quick look at what it looks like. If I go print and do a preview, that's how it's going to look when it prints. It's just going to print your chart. So you'd have to print your data separate. Close my preview and flip back to my data. One thing to keep in mind, saving it, you do not need to save each tab separately. It all gets saved under the same file. So you don't have to worry about saving twice. It is one file, 2 different pages in the file. And that's it for Excel.